Aloha world, coming to you from New Eden, near Amsterdam, Netherlands, on Tuesday the 11th of June 2024. Just had a nice little walk/run through these woods, and it leads you out to the road. So, as anybody who knows about woods, going through all this was a dark affair. So of course, when I saw that there was light at the end of the tunnel, I had to try and make my way out. But the noise, the sound of this light soon informed me that, well, 'tis the signs of civilization here that I've encountered. And I suppose as good a place as any to begin my exploration of this land here. Is this a walkway? It'd be amazing if it is. Maybe a bike lane. This little thing will tell me all I need to know. Well, maybe not. And these great fields, of which there have been a plenty. I like this crossroads here. Something about it. Hope I can find my way back. It's 8 o'clock, which means that breakfast begins. And of course it's a perfect time for a little walk. Woke up at 6 today. Just by somebody moving in the room I was in. 3 of us in it. I love this road. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I love the paving. And this lovely oak tree. Hello, oak tree, right here on the corner. Aren't you beautiful? Yes, you are. Oh, wow. Look at this. Land of straight lines. Yeah. I love it. So far. And the red brick houses are very nice. Anyway, 3 minutes of what? It's just a whole bunch of waffling. So how was it, our first day landing at New Eden? It's interesting. It's not exactly as I expected, and to be honest, I didn't have any, or did I have a preconceived notion in my head? I suppose when I watched the, of which I have to, the generous amounts of content and material on video replay from the inspired creator of New Eden, the main creator, let's say, I get a very warm, sincere, and nearby feeling. And so I suppose when I landed there, yeah, a part of me was just not even thinking about it. Took it for granted that, we would meet, there would be a hug or even a handshake. And yeah, there was, of course, they were sitting already at the front of the room. By the time we arrived, everybody was getting together, where they were going, rooms, unpacking. Well, not unpacking maybe, but just dumping off stuff before meeting in the main hall at 3 p.m. And yeah, it, all mic'd up and ready to go. It wasn't apparent to me because I never presume, but there was cameras in place, which another person pointed out. She was aware that they were there. She was vigilant and felt her bit contract a little bit. To me, that doesn't really matter. It matters more, I suppose, the demeanor of somebody. I like to think that I could have 100 cameras trained on me, but that I would still be fairly transparent. And I don't mean that I'm better or know better than anybody, but that's just me. Anyway, that was just the start of it. I think at lunch we saw each other. They were alone and just getting their meal, and I just said, I have money for you. Or I didn't just say it, because I was nearly going to go up to them with my envelope of tuition, but I thought I didn't want to just crowd them with it, even though for somebody like me, you know, if somebody's coming up to me with an envelope full of resources, I would be like, don't delay, pay today. But yeah, I felt like I'm not giving them the generosity of their spirit. Like, you know, it'll all get sorted in good time. I don't need to crowd them out with this straight away. And yeah, when we did meet at lunch, yeah, there was no physical contact. Now again, this is not a big deal, but it just struck me, and so I'm just making a mental and video note of this. And so some words were spoken, and I said kind of in jest, just to inform them that I have something for them, and they said any time is good. So just handed it over just then, got it out of the way. And yeah, that was it. There was no other fanfare, no other small fare, and I'm just not that I'm left with it, but I'm just processing it, I suppose, as you do with this camera trained on you. So that's one of my first impressions, that the lead facilitator, whom I had felt was a person and a friend that I'm relating to, just, yeah, it didn't come across like a friend. And I'm reflecting on me the whole time, even during it, not to judge, like if it was me, you know, this is honestly what I thought. You know, I could imagine, at least intellectually, I could imagine if I was holding space for a big group, mic'd up, cameras ready, I would feel perhaps like not 100% to just be me. Now, a part of me, my brain inside is thinking, yeah, but he does this all the time, and this is his baby. His, you know, he's got much more, I suppose, resources than I have, in that he, you know, this home, this center, all these participants, all the numerous courses, you know, for instance, that drew me here. And I'm just, yeah, it just, like the way that other participant named that she felt vigilant and a bit contracted because of the cameras being at the ready. I must say, if somebody were to ask me for my honest feedback, I would say I'm just struck by, and that I probably wouldn't say this out loud, because I'd be kind of, I suppose, embarrassed to say it, and even shame even plays into it. You know, to say that, yeah, I'm just surprised, a small little basic thing, you know, greeting everybody personally. I mean, in that case, okay, it was time that we were beginning. It's not that, you know, people weren't shuffling around. People were still milling about. He was sitting there waiting patiently. So I get it that, you know, you wouldn't want to, if then a friend comes up to you and, you know, gives you a hug, then that'll break the spell of we're about to begin. You know, may I have your attention? And yet at lunch, when it was just I and them at an empty servings table, you know, it was still very businesslike. So yeah, I just found that interesting. Yeah, and there's something about this land, maybe the Netherlands. Yeah, being in Ireland, all I have been given is that it's a very mercantile sort of environment. Maybe there's a lot of transactions, I suppose. So I'm receiving this as a beautiful, it's quite gentle, really, objectively. Am I being fair to myself? But to me, it really, really strikes me in a big, hard way. Just because, yeah, I'm at that level of relating to people heart to heart, like you know, real people, right here. And so what that creates in my body, and I knew that before, and I had hoped secretly that it would change by voicing it, but what it would create in my body, what it did, and perhaps still does, is a feeling of not 100% relaxing and trusting, I suppose. You know, if I don't feel like, yeah, basically if I don't feel like, you know, you are my friend and that you value me as a friend, first of all, then there is that distance, you know, like placing this power, or placing this distance, or placing this status between us. You know, I give and you receive. And that makes me feel just a little bit like, you know, we all know that we are receiving. We've all, for the most part, paid to be here, to receive the experience from you. And yet, I don't feel like this is so original, really. I feel like this must come up with anybody who leads big events, who leads events with a large amount of people. And I feel like, yes, I've been to, like, okay, a big event with the Dalai Lama. I wasn't holding it against him that he wasn't, but then, yeah, we don't have a relationship the way I and this person did, or do. You know, and it's just a very casual, or maybe formal or semi-formal, you know, and I wonder, does this play into it? Is this relevant, you know? So I'm a woman and they're a man, and I also had offered them some body work, just, well, again, purely as if it was my friend, and I felt like they were voicing a need, or they were voicing a longing, you know, for something. In this case, physical touch or physical contact. It's interesting being in this position, and I can see why practitioners, as if I'm not one, but might take a distance, or might seem a bit cold or standoffish when it comes to the general public, people they don't necessarily know, because God knows how they treat their friends, right? That's their own business. But yeah, I feel like it was quite normal and natural to offer for me to say, you know, I heard you say when you shared with everybody how you longed and you wanted physical touch, or, you know, that kind of contact. And I mean, that's what I explained. I feel a bit bored saying it, that just to say, you know, if you still feel that way, that you know, if it feels, you know, good for you, then yeah, I don't even know why I'm hesitating saying this. I suppose I'm always gauging and judging and ascertaining whether or not I'm still legit and still, you know, connected to myself. You know, basically what I'm just trying to say is, yeah, if you needed some touch, you know, I would consider providing some. And it has to be said, because of the day and age, there's no strings attached on my part, so I leave it with you. Anyway, so when it does finally happen, it's funny, you know, one is led to feeling like it's safe. Their reply to me was, that's lovely, that seemed genuine, and then they said, you know, I'll have to, whatever, think about it, or I'll have to process it, or I'll have to leave it with me, or something like that, which brings that sense of trust to somebody who's offering, like I am, you know, feeling like, okay, they're not just jumping at it, they're actually considering it, you know, that's great. So it's not just an automatic knee-jerk, oh, you know, I'll just take, grab. You know, it made me feel like, okay, there's some consideration. They're not just going to jump at anybody, which may well be the case. Yeah, when that had taken place, it ended with a very interesting interruption. And that interruption revealed to me a whole lot. So it did, about where they were at. And without really revealing it, yeah, it just gave me a reflection of their personal interactions. And yeah, it's all coming into context now. I feel like there's an embarrassment there. And therapist to therapist, I'm thinking, shrug it off, boy. You know, And we don't even have to talk about it, but like be real, you know. But now this piece is coming in, which I already know in my head, but it sounds like, yeah, a professional is embarrassed of their personal life leaking out, and now that they have resourced themselves a whole lot more, their capacity is not in the habit, perhaps with me, to acknowledge and perhaps even recall the dynamics of that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was made light and it was made small. It was a big deal at the time. I feel there was another individual expressing to yet another individual. So if I'm the third wheel, then there's a fourth involved. Anyway, this is a whole lot of things involved. I'm thinking like, hi there. Yeah. So obviously this is a big deal, says a skeptic. And I feel like, well, I guess it is. My mind would like to say, no, it's not. But I feel like that would be doing the exact same thing as I've experienced, making light of something that isn't that light in a way. These strange microaggressions. To oneself, really, I suppose. That's the off bit of it. Oh dear. And the way he works, he loves total accountability. So if we have an opening circle, which I presume we would or should, in a way, if it was me, to say, did anything arise in the night? And I suppose, I mean, what am I going to do? Bundle up these 17 minutes and say, yeah, and that's what I feel, that I just noticed there is what I feel, and I'm so open to being wrong, that, yeah, as we are all here on a leadership forum, that as a leader, is there an embarrassment of our personal life dynamics spilling over, and then I stick my head in the ground, in the sand like an ostrich, and not even talk about it, not even refer to it, not even acknowledge it, name it. And I know that they had since gone on plant medicine journeys. They publicly documented this. They went, 3-day or a week plant medicine journey, and yeah, fair play. We do what we do to process things. Reminds me of another brother in a professional capacity who's also going through personal transitions, and that brother is actually a sort of a plant medicine facilitator, and I presume that they would just embark on a plant medicine journey to process their personal life, the dynamics of it, which is of course much more than just that small little bracket. To me it reflects back the themes and the trauma and the motifs of our lineage. They went on their week. They instead are doing boxing, and it looks like running on the beach, and yeah. So just because I find one method of processing, well, basically trauma, interpersonal trauma, more perhaps preferable or agreeable or attractive to me than another, doesn't devalue it. And yet, in this case, to give myself credit, I suppose, I'm simply noting the kickback, the impact it has on my body anyway, on my system. Just makes me feel like, if a younger part of me feels like, did I do something wrong? To have this withdrawn attention, withdrawn acknowledgement, withdrawn connection, withdrawn warmth. And it's not like we're best of friends, but it's in my system. So I'm learning to trust that. it would be interesting if what I experienced in Czech doesn't replicate here. And in me not voicing it, will somebody else experience it, therefore? And yeah, therefore, did I ever finish that sentence? I feel as if the embarrassment of one's personal, maybe a younger self, has impacted me and left me with a contracted feeling, a feeling of not trusting and not fully being able to land here. Physically I can, sure, I'm out on a walk in nature, I'm singing, and all this is to process my nervous system, to soothe it and give it the space it needs, and to follow my pleasure. Pleasure, which is just self-regulating. But yeah, it is pleasure because it gives one a sense of control and empowerment. And in so doing, especially with this method, one has the option, the invitation to reap all the abundance of a seemingly limitless environment. Can learn a thing or two, hey? Yeah, the principle of scarcity. So scarcity, is that being reflected to me? The lack of or limited amount of affection and or recognition of another in the human realm. Yeah. So my intention is not to, dig into the mental acrobatics of this emotional kickback. And it's more than emotional, I feel, but I was just grasping for a word, and I felt like, yeah, emotional, can fit it, but to explore it and to tease it out, I really am interested to know, what is it? What is it? I feel it's a reflection for myself as well, as would-be successful facilitator. Somebody with the degree and the level of success that this facilitator holds outwardly, and who projects this as their reality, makes me feel as if I'm surprised. It just seems incongruent with the sense of, I suppose, I feel privileged and honored to call them my friend, and this is just perhaps just another normal speed bump in the course of a friendship. But it's made me notice, and God help us, for better or worse, it just rambled into my morning exploration inside. I feel like it is, of course, relevant to many people that don't know me or anybody else in this, story. But I know, and I allow, and I acknowledge that in me there's an embarrassment and a shyness. I said it in the start, right? Sense of shame, of like, well, maybe I don't deserve recognition from another. Who am I? What am I thinking? I need to be acknowledged and given a pat on the back or a hug or a kiss on the cheek for knowing somebody, or having had they are my teacher as well on my year-long course. So if we're looking at it through a transactional lens, excuse this segue again, but then it's like we I've invested resources into you. If I had material resources that were not off my back, then it's an even more valuable resource. My energy, my attention, my interest, my time. Time I'm not spending with my kids. Time I'm not at home growing my food, getting it sorted in the garden. Time I've taken to go up in a plane, land down here, take a taxi or a train or a bus, and be here, in your living space for a week of my life. So I'm not asking that every facilitator, necessarily needs to, give every participant a hug, especially if we have 30 participants, maybe more, I can't tell, because I approve of this. There's a Telegram group with all the participants on it so that any logistics, any questions can come up there. And in that group there's 30, maybe 35, so that's all I'm going by. I guess I feel like this is a share that is from a younger part of me, even though I said earlier that if it were from a younger part of me, then A, B, and C. And I felt like I had, of course my questions are legitimate coming from a facilitator or a would-be facilitator's point of view. But at the same time, you're only as good as the work you do on yourself, as they say, right? Which can make some people want to vomit, I'm sure. But it's true, very easy to be cynical and point out the flaws in a leader and say, look at them, they're putting themselves up front and they haven't done their work, meaning they haven't processed their own personal stuff and they're projecting it on others. And for me, if I say nothing, which I may or may not do, then, that has been the habit of keeping safe, But as I witnessed directly and experienced in the last retreat that I was assisting on, they play out right before our eyes sometimes with others. Of course, stronger or not as strong as you are, not as well resourced as you are. It's all relative anyway. But yeah, so now I've finished now with a bit of a question to myself. Isn't that great? When I go back, if it comes up is it my place to say something? I really feel like I'd rather not. Can you feel me? And yet another part of me feels like, well, yeah, another part of me is kind of not collapsed, not exactly freeze and frozen, numb, but it just feels like I just don't want to really invest energy to think about this, so therefore I won't think about it. When I go in, everybody's going to be eating breakfast or finish eating breakfast. I'll do what I'll do. I wanted to write out some songs, and I may just do that, take time for myself to do what I wanted to do, and just allow this just to be another note to self, as so often happens. I take. And yeah, I don't know if it really is progress or a win, something to be proud of for myself, but in this new paradigm, a new personal paradigm of celebrating wins and acknowledging my progress rather than always looking at the glass being half empty, it's like, hey Penelope, in the past you would have just held this to yourself. You wouldn't have been doing a vlog about it, airing your dirty linen in front of everyone. But here you are, and sure, shadow side can say, yeah, but you're just doing this to appease your ego or to stroke your vanity or, get into the narcissist, a list of endless reasons of why this is a bad idea. And that may well be. I may well agree with all of them and more. But right now I am practicing, and I feel, yeah, it's good because it's edgy. I am practicing celebrating wins and celebrating. I wouldn't be doing this, the Penelope of most of my life, would just kind of get on. It's not that I would be feeling sorry, but either, but I would, just not make a big deal of it. And I think this is my whole way of being a vegan for nearly 30 years. Just getting on with what I need to get on with and not worry about anybody else getting their knickers in a twist. Because God, if one has to, be worrying about everybody else's emotional welfare, then good luck. Having said all that, I'm excited and curious and open to our day 2, our full day 2. And I see our day 1, it's kind of like letting us all be grown-ass boys and girls and seeing how we adjust and settle into this new environment. There are many who have been here before. It's not their first time. Some people are coming here 5 times a year. and for a lot of us, it is our first time as well. So I'll be curious to see how we all land in. I must end this because it's getting on for 30 minutes now. And yeah, I do love you, so I don't want to torture you too much. Of course, even though I know there's only like what, maybe 5 people watching my vlogs at the moment, last couple of months, if any of you want to share anything, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to leave a comment wherever this is gonna end up. Yeah, since I receive a lot of value from hearing, how others feel. Obviously, I'm just speaking for myself, so when somebody else shares genuinely their experience, it's really helpful, for all of us to, I suppose we're all titrating, we're all kind of, what's the word, like interoception, we're all like propriocepting our environment and where we are. This is the day and age. Jesus, our forefathers were not like this. Yeah. One thing that I'm getting a lot of recently is, you're from Ireland? You've got absolutely no Irish accent. And it's really funny. I'm just getting a lot of this. Step out of the way of the car. So, yeah, this is an interesting dynamic, and I really leaned into it yesterday. Really leaned into it that the person who spoke these words, they were really blown away. I'm saying this in all honesty. You don't know what I said. They were blown away because of all the freaking fractal connections and parallels that were falling out of my mouth. So God help us. It's an interesting one. And yeah, we can unpack that more some other day when I haven't gone 32 minutes or whatever. So have a great Tuesday. Oh, is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday the 11th. I said that in the beginning, yeah. And I'm sending you all my love from north of Amsterdam, New Eden, and the Heart IQ community, of which I'm part of this week.